Welcome to Thinner Peace and Menopause and Beyond. This is Dr. Deb Butler, Master Life and Weight Coach, and as always, your coach. Today is episode number 111, and the title of this is called You Are Not Broken. I'm interviewing one of my most beloved clients about her journey with me, and I think you will learn so much from it. Stay tuned. Hi, all my dear friends. How are you today? It's a rainy day in St. Louis, but it is green, green, green. Well, today I have a really special episode because I have asked one of my clients, Shauna, to come on and do an interview with me about her process and journey so far in working with me. She just finished up her program. She's lost her weight. And she is a new woman. And listen, I don't want you to hear it from me. I want you to listen to her so that you can see what her journey has been like. And listen, she's very, very honest about it all. And that's probably one of the things I love about her so much as a client is that she's open and she's honest and she is resilient. So enjoy the podcast and the interview. And I'll come back on in the end and give you a few tidbits about her. Enjoy it. So, hi, Shauna. Welcome to my podcast. How are you today?
I am fabulous. Thank you.
Tell me why you're so fabulous.
Well, let's see. That's a big question.
I know.
Because I'm living my life right now. I have come a long way in the last 5 months in learning how to manage my mind. And I feel fabulous because I'm not afraid of my feelings anymore. You know, I can let stuff come up. Doesn't mean I always handle them great or perfectly because that doesn't exist. But I think I'm just really loving getting to know myself better.
Wow, is all I have to say. So let me tell our listeners just a little bit about you, about my memory of you when we did our mini session, because this is what I remember most about you is your sadness and your hopelessness about yourself. And one of the things that you said to me that I will never forget is that you said that I feel like I'm broken. Do you remember that?
Oh, very well. Yes. Mm-hmm. I can remember before, I think I had the mini session with you a few days before that. Mm-hmm. I can remember sitting on my bathroom floor telling my husband, I feel broken. And I did. I felt complete hopelessness.
Why?
I had tried so many times and so many things to lose weight or to... At that time, I wouldn't have known to call it manage my mind. I didn't even really see the two connected, but I felt like I had no willpower, no worth in, or no ability to do what I said I was going to do. I didn't trust myself. Mm-hmm. And I just felt like, because I had tried so many things for years. Yeah. And just been unsuccessful.
Mm-hmm. I see. And so what made you want to do a mini session with me?
I have seen the power of coaching before, and I just thought, I need a person. I need somebody that can walk through this with me because I've read a bajillion books. I've done a bunch of different things, and I had heard you on somebody else's podcast, actually, and I thought, it just felt right. It just felt like the thing I needed to do.
Do you remember, I think that was a podcast, a recording that I did with Jody Moore. And do you remember what I said on that resonated with you so much that made you want to call me for a mini session, what it was?
I remember the hunger scale. I was curious about that and what it really meant. Because I'd seen different hunger scales in the past, but there was something, this one was a little bit different. And it really piqued my curiosity. And I think it was the first inklings of, Shauna, are you in touch with your hunger scale? Do you even know, when you were talking about the numbers and everything, I realized how much I didn't know what you were talking about. So that was a big piece of it.
So it was just the idea, because what you said is what a lot of people said to me about that interview, was that it was so intriguing that there's such a thing as eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're full. Like that was such an aha moment, right? And it's like, and it's like, out of all the crazy things that go on in our culture about what to eat and what not to eat and what to do and what not to do, and what seemed to pique hundreds of people's interest was the idea of eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're full. Because I think that's what you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah. So
it's very not a part of our culture anymore.
It's not part of our culture. That's really something that interesting when you say that it's almost like we don't even talk about the idea of, are you eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're full? We're like, we've got away from the basics. Since we've worked together, what I have seen with you, if I would say one thing about you, I would say that you were absolutely persistent and diligent about doing all the work that we did together. There is not one thing that you didn't do that I asked you to do. I mean, you did all the work. Why did you do that? You could have just said, I didn't feel like it today or whatever, but you never did that.
Because I want, the real answer is because I want to become who I'm meant to be. And I know the only way I can do that is if I put in the work. I can listen to podcasts, I can read books, I can try stuff, but until I turn inward and put pen to paper and a lot of the questions and a lot of the homework, I would sit there and mid-sentence or something think, I really want to go do something else, or I'd see stuff pop up. It wasn't super comfortable, or I didn't want to, but I was committed. I just made the choice. Somewhere in those phone calls, I decided that I'm not giving up ever, no matter how ugly this gets. And there were a couple times I was like, I am done with this, but I still showed up, but I just still chose to keep walking, even though it didn't always feel like what I wanted to do.
Right. I think that's a really good point, because I actually did one of my latest podcasts was on one of our sessions. I didn't mention your name, but, but what I remember is that you just really had a bad week. And in terms of not eating the way that you wanted to be eating and being really connected to your body, because it was a really emotional week. And I could tell when I got on the phone with you that you were not feeling good about it and you were feeling a bit hopeless, right? That happened a couple times.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons I don't like to go in the past that much, but I think the reason that you believed before that since you've never been able to do it, you didn't know if you could do it again. The only reason was because you just gave up on yourself. You gave up too soon.
Yes. So many times when I would just push past total failures in this last few months.
Yes.
It made me realize how often in the past I was on the cusp of something great or progress or just one step that would have taken me. And I was so close many times probably, but giving up on myself. And that's one of the things that I've learned to talk to myself the last few months is really telling myself I am open to new experiences. It's a possibility that you can be successful because of the self-sabotage that would come up, or I would look in the mirror and literally be surprised and confused at my smaller self and thinking that feels weird. And then I would just tell myself, you are open to new experiences. I am. So a lot of self-talk helped me with that.
Mm-hmm. And like what I'm thinking of, because one of the things that we do that maybe some of my listeners don't know is that when we get farther on into the program, one of the things that we do is we keep this, what we call a mind-body chart, where we not only chart your weight, we chart your mood, we chart your energy, we chart all kinds of things. And we keep that weekly. And even though You had weeks where they did not go the way that you had wanted. They weren't perfect. You messed up. You had some failures. If we looked at that whole mind body chart, like if we were going to tell our listeners, when we look at the whole thing, all of our work together, I think, what the result is that we see is that number one, you lost quite a bit of weight. Even though you had mess ups and failures and felt terrible and had some really bad emotions, all of that, but because you never gave up on yourself, what we noticed in the end is not only weight loss, but overall your mood had improved greatly over those weeks. Your energy was better. Your cravings. Remember, like when you first started, and I remember getting food journals from you, you needed to be eating all day long. Do you remember that?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. At least every 2 to 3 hours.
Right. And which happens to a lot of people because it's really hard to tell your twos and, depending on what you're eating. But in the end, like what I noticed is that for you, when we were filling out this chart, is that all of the things in your physical body, from your energy to your moods to your cravings for food and your weight, all of it got so much better. Number one, because you decided to choose to eat foods that were healthier for you and really manage your mind, even though you had weeks where it didn't go the way you wanted to. So how do you feel about that now that you're almost where you need to be? You're feeling fabulous. How do you know that this is going to be the last time that you ever do this? And how do you know that you can have total confidence in yourself going forward?
Oh, that was a lot in there.
I know. You can start with whatever you want.
I love the mind body chart. At first I didn't because it was tracking my failures. I felt like, because when you first go off flour and sugar, you start to have a lot of weight loss that comes with that. Or at least I did.
You did.
And then when sometimes I just wanted that to continue that way. And now I can see that when I would gain weight or I would have a binge or I would have something, and because the lies and the thought errors in my head are so believable sometimes. Mm-hmm. And if I just would have lost all the weight easy off of flour and sugar, I am confident I would have found myself right back in the same place gaining weight or something. But the mind body chart helped me see, after I'd been doing it for a while, that those were absolutely necessary parts of my journey, that I would have the weight increases or I would not be managing my mind well. And I'm grateful for those now because that's how I was able to get more comfortable feeling different feelings. And then in terms of how I know that this is the last time. Mm-hmm. I remember the first time you asked me that question and it did not feel believable to me. Mm-hmm. And I thought, yeah, right. I want to believe that. And so I just started saying things like it's possible. And I started changing some of my thoughts, but something within me, I just decided, because I don't want to go back to where I was. Once I've had some glimpses of my mind and my body talking to each other and communicating with each other, I didn't want to go back to how I've lived for my entire life. Mm-hmm. And so I would just kind of have to trust in you, trust in the glimpses that I had received, that this is the way I want to keep going, even when I really, really wanted to quit sometimes. I mean, you emailed me, or I think you gave me an assignment once and asked me this question: why is this the last time? And it was following a rough week. Yeah. Did you want me to read that letter? Or do you just want me to say
I think we'll read it at the end. But right now, I just think just talking a little bit about it is just so fascinating because, when I look at you now and I see how much confidence you have and how much trust you have in yourself, would you say your confidence and your trust in yourself has increased a lot around food and all these situations that happen, that you feel like you could trust yourself now?
Yeah, the trust is a big thing. And it started with, the 10 minutes of exercise. Like that is where the first, and keeping that commitment to myself. And when you said to me, what are you going to commit to? Before you even say yes, whether you're going to do something or not. And that was huge for me because I thought back, how long in my life have I said yes to so many things that I really, if I was honest with myself, I wasn't going to do. I mean, my past was full of triathlons and marathons. And then I went through a 5-year period of my life and I was done with all of that. And the thought of exercising was just more than I could get myself to do. So yes, trusting that's the funnest part now, is knowing, okay, I'm going to fall flat on my face many times, but it's okay. Like, and the talk that you have taught me of it's okay, sweetheart, or I've got your back. Even though you feel horrible today, I'm still going to take care of you. That was helpful in learning the trust, because no one can trust somebody that's hateful or angry or
oh my gosh, Shauna.
critical.
Wow. Right. And you really have, I have seen your journey from really almost mean and self-loathing to the most wonderful person to yourself that you could possibly be. And maybe that's your biggest turnaround, I'm thinking, as I think about your journey, is how much kinder you've been to yourself, because that's, I guess, why you showed up every single week and you did everything, because you really did learn to honor your own commitments to yourself and tell yourself no matter what, you're going to do it. And it's okay.
Yeah, no, that feels right. I agree with you. I don't think I've even fully realized that until this moment. I feel different, and it feels more loving. But yes, I think that's been probably the biggest key thing for me.
I think so too. So, I'm thinking about, for you were talking about thought errors, and I don't know, you were talking about thought errors and you were also talking a little bit about exercise. So I was wondering if you might be able to explain to the people who are listening. And I mean, first of all, I'll explain. A thought error is something that you think that gives you a result that you don't want, but you believe it. So when you were talking about thought errors, what were some of the things that you used to think that ended up making you either quit something or end up self-sabotaging yourself? What were some of those thoughts that you used to think?
Oh, gosh. And some of them still pop up.
Good. And that's really good for everybody to know, too, is they don't go away, do they?
No. In fact, just a couple days ago, there was thin and crispy Tostitos for me. Somehow in my brain, it thinks that they're going to keep me safe, And so just a few days ago, I thought, oh, you're losing weight too fast, or your metabolism is going to slow down, or if you don't want to be a person who can't eat chips with her family or something. Like, I will have a cascade of them coming because my brain will try one and I'll be like, oh, that's cute. Or, oh, I'll notice it. And then it'll send another one it really does think I'm safer eating certain foods, or, I think you mentioned exercising, when you had me chart, okay, how do you feel before you exercise?
Yes.
How do you feel after? Even though
emotionally,
it's just 10 minutes or something.
Mm-hmm.
My brain has literally now learned, go move. You're anxious, go move. It's now, because it's been able to make that connection. That one happened pretty fast. Mm-hmm. The food, I think, is just going to take longer. It'll keep coming up for me for a while, I anticipate, but that's okay.
I love the way you even say that. Yeah, your thoughts, they do keep coming. My thoughts still keep coming up, and that's okay. It's just who do we want to follow and what do we want to listen to? Just because they're there and you hear it doesn't really mean you have to follow it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's super uncomfortable sometimes. Like last night, because this same principle applies to relationships or everything else. And I was upset with my daughter last night. She's 13.
Yep.
And I really wanted to indulge in getting mad at her. And so I went instead, and my family could tell I was kind of quiet, but that more than I was quieter than usual. And I went instead and took a bath and read a book. And then in the morning, because I knew I was not in a place to make a good decision or help the relationship. Give me the result I want. That's always what I go back to from what you've taught me is what is the result you want? And
that's beautiful.
I don't want to So, yeah.
So the result you wanted with your daughter is you wanted to have keep a good connection with her, and you didn't think you could do it in that moment of anger. You would say something that wouldn't do that.
Yeah. And so I was left with walking around. I felt like crap last night. I didn't feel good. But it was okay. I just let it be there and didn't do something to, whether it was eating because I wanted to eat as well, or get mad at her or something else.
I love it. So we both know that it's possible that when that used to happen to you, eating was your first choice.
Oh yeah, I would have been straight to the pantry for sure.
Yeah.
Because it just makes you feel, it works. It makes your brain feel better. It doesn't give you the result I want. And in a while, I won't feel better. But in the moment, it does work.
You're right. It does. And that's really good for all of us to know is that when we're having negative emotion and our brain is used to feeding it, because all our brain wants to do is keep us safe. And all you want to do is be safe. And your brain says, well, listen, I know how to save your life right now. And the Doritos or whatever, they're just sitting in that closet. Go have some, sweetheart. I'll save you. Right. And that used to be what you would always do. Yeah. Right. So that thought's still there. But what do you do when it comes up? So what did you do last night? Because I'm sure it came up. What did you do? Or how did you talk to yourself?
Yeah, it was worse too because my husband was eating the Tostitos. And I thought, okay, this doesn't need to be his thing. I don't need to he's free to eat the chips. He's free to live his life. I'm not going to go there. But I did what I needed to do around the house and I let the kids do what they were doing. And then
what did you say to yourself?
Yes, that's what I'm just realizing because I had thoughts. I had lots of thoughts like, Beautiful. You're okay. And this won't last. Mm-hmm. And I think I had to keep saying thoughts to myself. It wasn't just one and done. Like I had to keep talking to myself Beautiful. and to the point that I went and actually did something different, the bath and the book and everything. So there were a lot of chosen thoughts, not just one.
That's lovely. So it's almost, so to me, that looks like compassion. It looks like you putting your arm around yourself. You can tell me where I'm wrong because I wasn't there. And almost saying to yourself, come on, sweetheart, let's just go take a bath and read a book and you'll feel better.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly right.
It is? Oh, good.
You know me pretty well.
I do know you pretty well. And I have to tell you, like, I love you. I have loved working with you. I have watched you work hard. I've watched you work through so many negative emotions. And I've watched you be able to handle all of them. So what I know for you, Shauna, right now, I know that you can feel anything right now. I know that. Do you know that? That you can sit with a negative emotion now without having to eat it, that you can just handle the emotion. I don't say it feels good.
No, yes, I do. I'm not afraid of, I just remember feeling a terror of being hungry or feeling a negative emotion, and I'm not afraid of those anymore.
So wonderful. So before we stop, would you mind reading what you wrote to me? Why this is going to be your last time.
You bet.
Because I think this is important for everybody that they can adopt a thought like this as they're going through this process this is going to be my last time. And then for them to be able, just like you did, to write down why it's going to be your last time. So take it away.
Okay. And let me just say the
Please.
Writing it down.
Yes.
I'm so grateful because I've reread and reread and reread for myself. It's been good for me. So
beautiful.
Why this is the last time I will go through this process of losing weight. I have been thinking about it the last several days. I have several reasons. I have learned that falling on my face is part of the process. And there is something deep in me that is committed to living my higher self, to becoming who I am meant to become. And I can't do that when I am unconscious. Allowing urge and negative emotion to be felt by my body, in my body, to stop living in so much terror about feeling a negative emotion. I can survive feeling negative emotions and urges. It is how I become stronger. It is where I meet myself. I will fall on my face again in many areas, and I hope that's the case, because that is evidence that I am pushing forward and growing. I am committed to myself and my well-being. I will keep doing this as long as it takes to reach the result I am looking for. And I have decided that beating myself up is something I am no longer willing to allow myself to do. I know my brain will try, but I can retrain it to do something that I have not given myself most of my 40-year life: compassion, love. This is the last time I will lose weight. I believe it. I can feel it. It feels amazing. It feels hopeful, full of possibilities. I also feel free of what others think about my weight and food choices. I love my choice to be free of flour and sugar and the freedom it provides. I don't have to make that okay for anybody. They have their own journey. I deserve to be happy, to be successful, and so do they.
Shauna, that was beautiful. And I don't think that there's one other thing that I could say after that, other than I love you. I loved working with you. And thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Thank you, Dr. Deb. Love you too.
Well, what did I tell you? Is she not amazing? And I will tell you what, when I did my mini session with her, she really was, as she said to you, she acted like there was something terribly wrong with her, and she acted as if she was broken already because of what she made her past mean about her behavior around eating and food and what people thought about her. And she is a different woman today. I will tell you, if you could only hear the difference in her from before and after, you would know what I'm talking about. But hopefully she gave you a pretty good idea about all of this, and that if you are anything like her, I hope that you realize that there's hope, and that most of that lies in your own brain about how you see yourself. And food and weight is just a symptom of that. That's all it is. So yeah, the good news is she's lost weight, but you know what she's lost more than anything else? She's lost that mean mentality about herself. She has learned to be as kind to herself as she is to the rest of her family. And you know what? I really think that's a key. I hope you enjoyed the podcast today. And if you're anything like Shauna and you're really looking to learn how to apply this stuff the way she did it, you know you can set up a mini session with me. All you need to do is go to drdebbutler.com/work with me. You can set up that session. I only do a few a week, and usually they get filled up pretty fast. But if this is something that resonates with you, go do it. Go do yourself a favor. And until next week, the other thing I want you to go do, I want you to be very, very, very kind to yourself. See you next week. Bye-bye.
To get a free copy of Dr. Deb's companion workbook with all the tools, homeworks, and discussions that she uses in her podcast with all of her private clients, please go to drdebbutler.com/change. This will make it even easier to follow along with her in future broadcasts.